Today I bring you a bombshell that could change everything in the future of the Los Angeles Chargers. And no, that's not an exaggeration. These are hot details. Information that hasn't yet leaked to the mainstream media, but that we were able to find out exclusively for you here on our channel. The only one that's on top of every move the franchise makes, 24 hours a day. Just imagine, one of the NFL's greatest defenders, one of the most dominant pass rushers of the last decade wearing blue and gold. That's right, a behind-the-scenes twist is shaking up the structure of the AFC, and the Chargers could be the big beneficiaries of this story. But that's not all. This news is full of layers, tension, and behind-the-scenes decisions that could put the Chargers on a direct path to the Super Bowl. And best of all, you'll find out everything right now, in great detail, without any fuss, straight to the point. So, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because what I'm going to tell you now is the kind of behind-the-scenes news that traditional media only discovers when it's too late. Here, you'll be in the know before anyone else. For a long time, the Chargers lived in the shadow of the Kansas City Chiefs, on the field, in the AFC standings, and in conversations between experts. But for Kevin Clark, one of the most respected analysts in the NFL, this gap is not only decreasing, but could disappear by 2025. On his podcast, This Is Football, he said, "It wouldn't surprise me if the Chargers made it to the Super Bowl. Give me half a credit if that happens." And as bold as this statement may seem, it carries data, context, and above all, the central figure of Jim Harbaugh. The coach is transforming the Chargers in his own way, with a physical, disciplined team built from the inside out, exactly as he did at Stanford, Michigan, and the 49ers. The results have already started to show. In 2024, the franchise finished 11-6 and made the playoffs, although it was painfully eliminated by the Texans. But the disappointment turned into fuel. Derwin James made it clear, now we know what's possible. And he's not the only one. The bookmakers are also watching. The Chargers appear at plus 2,500 to win the Super Bowl. And names like Scott Engel point out, you can make a lot worse bets than Harbaugh and Herbert at plus 2,500. The quarterback, by the way, enters the season with the stability of working with the same offensive coordinator for the first time, Greg Roman, in addition to having by his side a Ladd McConkey in full rise, 1,149 yards and 82 receptions in his debut, and the return of veteran Mike Williams. Not to mention young reinforcements like Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Oronde Gadsden II. On defense, linebacker Dion Henley is already being considered for All-Pro after a season with 147 tackles, even playing at sacrifice. Henley has been training with Derwin James and Khalil Mack, who renewed with the team despite other offers. Mack, by the way, seriously considered retiring after the elimination by the Texans, but decided to stay. The reason? He believes. Why not here, man? Why not win it all? And if you think this is just excitement, Clark ends with a warning. If they stand out, don't say you weren't warned. But what if the board decides to be even bolder? That's where we get to the next chapter. Jalen Ramsey's surprising move from the Miami Dolphins to the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't just shake up the AFC's defensive structure. It also raised an immediate red flag behind the scenes at the Los Angeles Chargers. And it's no coincidence. This trade revealed something much deeper about the Florida franchise's backroom. The Miami Dolphins appear to be on the verge of a complete restructuring. And if that's the way it's going, the next name to come up for discussion could be none other than Tyreek Hill. Miami is in an awkward position. The team isn't bad enough to embark on a complete rebuild and seek a top draft pick, but it's also not good enough to compete at a high level for a Super Bowl. The departure of Ramsey, one of the defensive pillars, is the first major indication that the Dolphins may be willing to rethink their strategy. And if that's the case, Tyreek Hill, despite his impact on the field, could become a tradable asset. According to Jaleel Granberry, a journalist for the Bolt Beat website, this is the ideal time for the Chargers to get involved. In his analysis, Granberry points out that a move for Hill would make perfect sense, especially if Los Angeles' goal is to make a real leap in competitiveness in 2025. The offense already has the explosive youth of Ladd McConkey, who had a spectacular rookie season, and the return of veteran Mike Williams, but neither comes close to the impact that Tyreek Hill could make. We're talking about one of the most feared wide receivers in the NFL, a real nightmare for opposing defenses, with speed, agility, and an instinct to score at any moment. For Justin Herbert, who has never had a wide receiver one with this level of explosiveness and experience, this would be the chance to maximize his production. construction. Hill would open up space in the middle of the field, attract double marking, and transform the Chargers' passing game into one of the most dangerous in the league. He would, without a doubt, be an immediate, impactful reinforcement with the potential to change the fate of the franchise. The big question mark, however, is the management's stance. Under Jim Harbaugh and GM Joe Ortiz, the Chargers have been adopting a more conservative strategy, focusing on developing young talent and using the draft as their main construction tool. Throughout the offseason, the team avoided bold trades, even when faced with tempting opportunities on the market. But a possible drop in Hill's value, something plausible if the Dolphins really take a sale stance, could change that scenario quickly. In addition, the window of opportunity that opens this season could force the Chargers to act. The defense is more solid, the offense already has a consistent base, and coach Jim Harbaugh wants to win now. If there was ever a time to go further and make an aggressive bet, this is it. The market remains heated, and the Miami backstage is agitated. The chance of Tyreek Hill changing teams is still in the realm of speculation, but the signs cannot be ignored. If the Chargers decide to act, they could take a definitive step toward the NFL's elite, and with Hill in blue and gold, opposing defenses would certainly have a new reason to lose sleep. If the mere mention of Tyreek Hill's name by the Chargers already sounds like a bold move, then get ready for something even bigger. TJ Watt could be the next piece on the Los Angeles franchise's board. Yes, we're talking about one of the NFL's top defenders, a player with an immediate impact who can literally change the destiny of an entire defense. And as unlikely as it may sound, the signs coming from Pittsburgh show that something is really off there. It all started with the surprising trade of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who left the Steelers for a new home. The departure of an elite defensive player raised questions about the internal climate within the franchise, and it didn't take long for TJ Watt to emerge at the center of the conversation. The linebacker, winner of the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year award, is not happy with the terms offered in his contract extension, and behind-the-scenes reports indicate that the mood between him and the board is increasingly distant from an agreement. Ray Fittipaldo, an insider for the renowned Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, said in an interview that the situation is delicate. The Steelers want to sign a new contract with TJ, but it has to be something that works for both sides. It can't be one-sided. At this point, it's unclear if TJ really wants to stay. This is more than just a rumor. It's a real opportunity, opening up for attentive franchises. And the Chargers should be among the first in line. With Joey Bosa out of the plans and Khalil Mack already thinking about retirement a few months ago, Los Angeles finds itself facing a possible void in the pass rush starting in 2026. Tuli Tuipulotu, a promising young player, still needs time and structure to reach his peak. In this scenario, TJ Watt would not only be a reinforcement, he would be a defensive anchor, a new locker room leader, and the engine of the front seven for the next few years. It's true that Watt's arrival would require a large investment. The player is still under contract through 2025, with a base salary of $30.4 million, and would certainly require a significant extension to stay long-term. But the rewards of this gamble could be immediate. With Harbaugh changing the team's mindset, Herbert leading a growing offense, and the defense gaining momentum, the addition of TJ Watt would be the missing piece to make the Chargers a complete threat, balancing offensive strength with defensive solidity. More than just a big name, Watt would bring respect and fear. AFC West quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson would have to think twice about holding the ball for more than 3 seconds. With Watt pressing on one side and Mack on the other, and players like Henley, Tuipulotu, and Derwin James forming the defensive core, Los Angeles would finally have an elite defense capable of closing out games and dominating in the playoffs. And the impact off the field would be as strong as on it. A trade of this magnitude would signal that the Chargers aren't just playing at competing. They're ready to win. They are ready to challenge the big boys. And, most importantly, they are ready to turn their potential into achievement. If the price is right, and if the Chargers front office has the courage to act, TJ Watt could be the next to don the blue and gold. And then, fans, the NFL will feel the impact.